Welcome to this week's episode of The Providers, brought to you by Smoking It Smokers and SmokingIt.com. This week, Steve and I are hanging out. Unfortunately, we're going to hit on the sad topic of EHD a little bit. But after that, we are going to jump into a couple of buck stories. Not only are they fun, but there's also something to be learned by them. We discussed a little bit about how we've evolved as hunters and what has led us to maybe be more successful as we've evolved in this crazy world of trying to get it done on deer. So stick with us. This is going to be a fun episode, and we are getting into the prime portion of deer season.
Nothing cures a troubled mind like leaving boot prints in the mud. As that crisp morning air stands up your neck of hair and your adrenaline starts to flood. When you're a provider, you understand the things the woods can do. How you can lose yourself in the things that you love, but you can find yourself in them too. Yeah, we're the hard-working, hard-hunting, freeze of fair land providers. Yeah, we're the hard-working, hard-hunting, freeze of fair land providers.
Who doesn't love making a delicious meal for their family? Smoking It Smokers allow you to do just that. Simply set the settings and walk away, only to come back hours later to have a delicious meal waiting for you. Smoking It Smokers, when only the best will do.
Dude, tried these?
I just did. What's this
What'd you
spiked?
think?
That's pretty good.
Dunkin' coffee spiked.
I don't even know what the spiked part of it is, though. What are we spiking it with?
Oh, 6% alcohol.
3% cocaine.
I have no idea, but they're delicious, right?
This is amazing.
We'll be up the rest of the night.
Oh my goodness.
Stick with me, I'll get you all sorts of stuff, man.
the things that we couldn't do when we were on television. It's kind of refreshing. So unfortunately, I gotta start this one off with some bad news. Number one is that I have my headphones on. Okay, now I feel better. So obviously heard down in Ohio about EHD hitting, especially the east side of Ohio, which fortunately for us, where we hunt, hasn't really been affected. I think they've been getting a couple reports or whatever, but I think they're up to like almost 8,000 deer that have been reported dead down there.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So,
Holy cow.
for those of you that don't know, EHD is it's a tiny little. It's a disease that's caused by a tiny little bug, almost like the size of a fruit fly. It tends to lay its eggs and nest near water. So on drought years, from what I've read about it, is that when the water starts to decrease in size, so if you've got a pond and you start shrinking it up and you're exposing all that under muck and mud and all that, that's like a great breeding ground for them. And then as those deer come in to get drinks of water, obviously, because if it's a drought season, it's probably hot and they're thirsty. These little tiny flies can bite them, and it causes swelling in their brain, and then causes super high fevers, which then make the deer want to move towards water because they're so hot. And unfortunately, if you have deer that are dying of VHD, typically it's where you're going to find them is somewhere near a pond or a creek or whatever tends to be the place to do it. So I've got my brother-in-law's future wife's brother. sounds crazy. I'll map it out for you at some point. But anyways, I know this guy. I swear we've met twice. And
Tell me those family trees don't come together.
really big branches, okay? It's not straight up. And he actually has found all of his target bucks dead down in Ohio from EHD. just absolutely get decimated down there. And then I had heard from a couple people right here local to us. Actually, both of us have hunting property in this specific town. I've heard from two different people now that they found some dead deer around their ponds. Which I guess the saving grace is we're partway through October and they're just starting to find them. So I'm hoping maybe we're on the tail end of it. We're not going to get that hardcore die off, but
Once we get a frost and stuff, then they kill those bugs.
I think
off,
I think that
probably.
does help kill them off. And so obviously our temps are starting to drop now. We're starting to get more rain, so I'm hoping maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, the dreaded thing nobody wants to hear about is EHD, right?
Right.
Because the guy I know from down in Ohio, my brother-in-law's fiance's brother, he spent some money recently and bought a farm down there. He said everything's like decimated. Like he hunted the other
Jeez.
night, he saw a single doe. Like that's not a 1 year fix. Like
Right.
next year you're not going to have 4.5-year-old bucks running around on your property. Like if those deer die, you got 3.5, 4.5 years to get them
Right.
to get the new ones back up to age. So, I mean, it's frustrating. I remember it happening around here. You remember that like 8-10 years ago? It got kind of bad.
I know it happened along the Maple pretty hard. Like it hit that area real hard.
Yeah, and I don't know.
But again, that's a major water source with the river, so you're
Right.
gonna find them like along the rivers.
And I don't know where I've actually hunted if I've ever actually found. I'd take that back. I did have access to a property that had a creek on it, and we did find a couple dead deer 1 year, but it wasn't like a devastating type
Yeah.
thing. But
It was like probably 3-4 years for a bounce back on it with the property that I know of that was hit pretty hard. But again, that's not factoring in your nice big bucks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. It might take a while.
one thing that did surprise me, I was doing a little reading on it, and they actually said though that when the new bucks get to be like 1.5, 2.5 years old, they tend to have bigger antlers than the current deer that died off do because the population's down so much that they've got all this vegetation and nutrients
no
available to
competition
them.
and stuff.
So
Maybe.
so they actually say that the deer can come back bigger out of it. Also, something I didn't know is they said that the fawns can actually develop almost an immunity to it because it doesn't kill every deer that it affects. The deer can actually live with it. So if the does are affected but didn't die, their fawns can actually have some antibodies in them that can prevent them from getting it. So I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes into it. Kind of like COVID-19, we just got to line them up, give them all a
So
shot.
you don't have to vaccinate all these
Yeah,
deer.
we're gonna have to go vaccinate them all and give them a
Go
booster.
vaccinate your deer.
Yeah, give them a booster every year. So
Stupid vaccination.
so yeah, unfortunately, we're dealing with a little bit of that around here. Hopefully we don't run into it at our properties. I've got a pretty good sized pond on mine that I've checked, and I haven't seen anything. So I'm hoping I'm good. But to anybody that is affected by it, I guess all I can really say is that it sucks, and we feel for you. But hopefully they come back bigger and better. So
Honestly, thank you for explaining it because I was way off on my theory. I thought a bug like went up their nose and then lodged in their throat and then they couldn't drink or eat or something and that's why they were by the water. I don't know.
yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I knew a little bit, but I did have to read up on it to make sure I knew what was going on with it. But yeah, it's pretty deadly to them, that's for sure. For being such a little bug, it affects them. They say actually it
Sucks.
can affect anything with hoofs. So cattle, livestock, all that stuff. Said it usually just affects deer. Most studies have shown if a deer is affected with it, that the venison is still okay to eat. The only thing I've really seen is to be leery of getting any kind of spinal fluid or brain matter meat because that can be, the infected part of the deer. Which I think normally when you're processing a deer, you're not cutting into their brain and you're not cutting their spinal cord and that type of thing. But if you are leery about that, all I can say is do your own research, see if you're comfortable, eating that
Here's,
venison.
here's my theory. That is what would cause a zombie apocalypse. Deer with EHD walk around like zombies before they die. They're not afraid of people. They just walk up like doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
So if it winds up getting into humans, zombie apocalypse.
Here we go.
Mark my words. Let's start it here.
New theory. Brought to you by Steve Ackright.
That's how a zombie apocalypse could actually happen.
You heard it here first on the providers, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. So we got to talk about something positive.
Yeah, thanks for the depressing.
Yeah, this is bringing me down with my Dunkin' spiked iced coffee. Just delicious. All right, so I'm looking over your shoulder. I don't know if viewers can see over your shoulder or not, but I'm looking over your shoulder at your wall of fame here. And there's one deer up there that I remember being a part of, and I think we've got to recap this story. So you shot that deer when we were down in Ohio, right?
That one?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The big 8.
Yeah, with the hole. He's got the cool hole
big
in his,
mainframe 8
in his horn.
Yeah. So that one is one that I'm going to remember forever. And you always say that, but then I look around the room, there's some of these little racks and stuff that you're like, and then you got to really dig. But this is one that kind of, it made me feel good as far as where I was at as a hunter, which is a weird thing to say, right? So here it is, my birthday. Favorite time of year to be in the stand.
So hang on.
Back me up.
I am backing you. So you said that this was like your turning point as a hunter. So I'm looking around this room right now because you have killed a lot of bucks before you shot this deer.
Right.
And granted, I mean there's some smaller ones floating around in here.
Right.
From back when we were all starting out,
Right.
Teenage years and stuff. So was it because he's your biggest?
Honestly, it was because of what I did in the moment and the things that I did or didn't do while he was coming in.
Okay.
So why I say it was a turning point for me is that typically I have screwed up on so many deer, it's ridiculous. Like you get the jitters or you trying to do everything just right and you're overanalyzing, you're overthinking, and you're trying to do everything you can to seal the deal on this deer, right? This time I just made the right calls and the right move in that moment that I was able to sit back and go, wow, that's something that I wouldn't have done years ago. And maybe that's why I killed this deer.
All right. So you shot this deer from Steve Stand. Was that the first year that stand was up there?
No. I want to say it was the second year. The first year, I remember I hit a nice one, but I hit it in the shoulder. We couldn't find
that's right. Okay.
And actually, the very first year, I went in there with a climber on the last day of our hunt and hunted an all-day sit. Never saw a deer. Got down, and Jay was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And I said, "Nope, I will be right back here next year. This is my spot." So then Jay and I just started coming up with a plan of what we wanted to do. He found this it's a tree, but it's a group of trees, and they got big old trunks on them.
It's like a tripod.
Basically,
like a reverse
3 or
tripod,
4.
yeah.
There's the main one has 3 trunks that go up, and then there's another one beside it. So it's like you have 4 huge tree trunks, you
Right.
know. And then we put this 20 plus foot ladder stand.
That's
up.
probably the tallest ladder stand I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's up there, and then it's right in the middle of all those trunks. So like you're in there, like
Yeah.
it's pretty sweet. And then you're up on top of a hill, so you feel like you're a mile high, and that's the stand that takes forever and it's hard to get up into and all that. You know what I mean? Like it was a trek. But the cool part is so it's my birthday. And so that's November 11th, prime rut. And you know what happens on my birthday?
Oh, everybody calls you and your phone goes stupid the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I remember I was standing up. I got a text message from my sister-in-law. Said, "Happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day down there." Whatever, you know, she knows I'm hunting. I text her back, "Thank you," and I put my phone back in my pocket, and I looked over my right shoulder, and there's a bean field that year behind us, which had been picked. But you know that feeling when you just glance at a deer and you're like shooter, you know? So I glance over my right shoulder. I get a look at this buck, and he's headed right at me. He's 50, 60 yards out, but just on a straight walk. I remember actually saying out loud to myself, I turned and grabbed my bow and said, "Good Lord." So the difference of what I did, though, I grabbed my bow, I put my release on, and I've got, again, my back is to this big old tree trunk, right? I stood there, face straight away from me, and I'm like, he's either going to be on my right or my left. I never turned around. I never looked. I just stayed still and faced away from him, which was the hardest thing ever, because all I could hear was chick, 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 chick. Now my heart's going doom, doom, doom. And then he came out to my left, and he walked into my woods, and I saw his rack just turn and look through the woods, turn and look back, and he is literally 5 yards below me. And I'm like, holy crap. So I wait. He starts to walk. I draw back. I wait for him to clear that next big tree trunk.
Yeah.
10 yards, quarter in just a little bit. Perfect shot. He goes 30 yards and drops. And I can just see him. And I was just like, this was the best. Like, it was
Yeah.
so awesome. So it was like just being able to be patient. Like, it was like I don't know. I want to say it was like a change of mindset or a maturity of hunting, maybe, where it was like before, I can guarantee I would have spun around in my stand. I've been looking around that tree. I've been like, where's he at? What's he doing? What do I do? What do I do? And then he would have picked me off. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't have, I haven't been to see Steve stand very frequently. But you couldn't have shot him that direction.
No, I
It
couldn't
would have
have.
been a huge mistake turning
Yeah.
around because
Right.
you would have had to wait for him to clear into your
Right.
wood chunk anyway.
And what would he have seen? Me
Right, bobbing and
doing
weaving.
this. You know what I mean? So it was like I was patient enough to just sit there and let him come in. and just hearing his footsteps through those leaves was like, oh my God. But it was quite a hunt. It was great. I called the guys. Jay and Matt come. Jay actually, like, to impress those guys in Ohio, it takes a lot. This buck is not my highest scoring buck, but I guarantee he's my most mature buck. His horns are real thick. His body was huge. Like, he was just,
Oh, you can tell by looking at
he's
him
just a
next to the,
stud,
because that's
you
a
know?
Michigan deer on each side of him, right?
Yeah.
Like that's he's
Yeah.
you could tell that thing's a beast. So what you're trying to tell me is you sat there and faced straight away, not looking at that deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at no point in time did your head tell you hit record on the camera.
Right.
Just making sure.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right. Right.
And that's why no one ever saw that buck on the show.
Good point. Good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird.
Everything was perfect.
Man, I bet that pissed off the editor. No, that's
It was a good feeling having Jay say, every year I shoot a deer. Every year that I shoot a deer, not that I shoot a deer every year, but every year that I've been successful, I'm like, Jay, when you shot it, that's the one buck that he's.
I was
like,
gonna say,
yeah.
and he's honest. He's
Yeah.
honest.
That's the one buck that he's been like, yeah. So that was cool. And then Jay and Matt are two huge dudes. So they just grab on and they drag him through the woods. And I'm walking behind like, wait, this isn't right. They're dragging my deer. The hills there are so big that we're pulling the deer down the hill. The deer starts running Matt over. He jumps up and rides the deer down the hill. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even remember where I was at. I must have been hunting at Matt's
Yeah, I think
because
so.
I wasn't on the property. Must be.
Yeah,
when
it
you
was
shot him.
just Jay, Matt, and I hunting that property at that point. I think you were at the
Yeah, I don't know where. I
you were
was.
at the cabin, and then we decided just to field dress him right there, and then take him out, and then you got to see him when we got back.
Right.
So,
Yeah, he's a good one. That's for sure.
yeah, it was fun, huh?
It's funny you talk about like, because I think anybody that's new to hunting, maybe people who aren't new to hunting that have been doing it forever, you get that initial adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I see a deer, I can still, my heart rate increases, right?
Right.
It could be a fawn,
Right.
but if you're sitting there in the woods, you haven't seen anything for an hour, and you see a deer, your heart rate obviously jumps up. You get that adrenaline pumping, and then obviously if it's a buck, now you're like, do I grab my binoculars? Do I grab my rangefinder? Do I stand here? Do I get my bow? Do I clip my release on my bow? You know what? Like, there's so
Right.
many things running through your head. And I've kind of felt the same way over the past couple of years. I feel like the way my body has worked is I typically hold it together through the shot, and then when the shot's gone,
Right.
then I'm a
That-
train wreck.
And that's what I've evolved into. And there's like, when I was a younger hunter, it was like, oh, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then now it's like, I get that initial, and then it's almost like you go into kill mode.
Kill mode. Yep.
And then you're like, okay, what do I got to do to get this done?
Yep.
And then you keep it together, and as soon as that shot hits, then you're just like, my legs are shaking, my
Oh, yeah.
arms are shaking. It's just like,
Well, how
I
many
can't talk.
deer
It's,
did
like,
you
crazy.
kill on camera that you were like, it's the shaky hand? It's the shaky hand.
Yeah.
But and it's not even, that's one aspect of it. Like, the adrenaline part is the definite aspect of it. But like you just said, like, I feel like in the past couple of years, I've been able to control my movements
Mhm.
where it's not freak out and grab something out of my backpack or
Mhm.
grab my bow reel. You know what I mean? Like, it's more like, And that's a
And-
hard
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
to teach yourself.
And some of it is like you pick things up from other people, right? And you can watch TV show, and you might be able to pick stuff up or whatever. But I remember being with you, not to ruin your big buck story or whatever, but I remember being with you filming, and this was the biggest deer that we've seen on the hoof come through, and I remember filming, and I'm looking at the screen, but I'm looking over at you. This deer is 25 yards away, if anything. Like, and what are you doing? Let me get my rangefinder and let me see where he's at. I gotta look at it. And I'm going, are you nuts? Like, what are you doing? Like, how does he have this much composure to be like, oh, let me, you know? And just seeing how you were like cool as a cucumber, I thought. You know what I mean? So, like,
And then pulled the trigger and cried like a baby.
yeah. You were a shit show after that. But leading up to it, like, and maybe I gained something out of that. You know what I mean? Like being cool, calm, and collected in the moment as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then, going into that mode to get it done, so.
But I don't know. I don't know that that's a taught thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's your body either has that or it doesn't. I'm fortunate enough that it has it because I don't claim to have worked on that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Obviously after you've done something a few times, you get more comfortable. So
Right. I think on my end, it's just been experience. And the more you're into situations, the more you're going to learn.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, it's not like I'm not going to mess up on another one when it comes through. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I might go about it a lot different way than when I was a younger hunter. You know what I mean?
I think if you're a new hunter out there, like having that whole process in your head beforehand is key. Like, I'm not saying this was ever right or wrong, but my routine back when we hunted out of tree stands, I do it now with my saddle too a little bit, but I'd get in my tree stand and I'd look and I'd be like, I have a shooting window to my left. I have maybe a shooting window out in front of me. And maybe I've got something else
Mhm.
over here.
Yeah, you're pre-planning everything.
And I'm sitting
yeah.
there. As soon as it
Right.
got daylight, my ritual was I'm going to take out my rangefinder. I'm going to range the back of that lane. I'm going to range the back of that lane. I'm going to range the back of that lane. So when the deer comes in, I don't have to grab my rangefinder and go, now when my big buck came in, he came the direction we didn't think he was going to come from. So I did range him. But I'd do that. And then I'd grab my bow and I'd stand up and I'd aim at that spot and I'd aim at that spot and just feel what it was like, because there's nothing worse than drawing back and turning your elbow and hitting a limb behind you that you never even thought about until you're trying to get to full draw on something. So I think there's good things for newer hunters to maybe take away from this.
Well, also, I don't know if you do this or not. I almost do it to a fault. Which I found out last year, but I now, when I'm in the woods, and everybody's standards are everybody's standards, right? Like, I'm not trying to say only shoot this kind of deer or that kind of deer. I used to get pumped up over a spike or 4-point or 6-point, like, whatever. But now I'm in the woods, I'm like, shooter or not shooter, shooter or not shooter.
Right.
Like I'm
Whatever that standard is.
right. When I look over and I say shooter, I am done looking at that rack.
Mhm.
Like, I am going into, where is he going into my shooting lane? Aim small, hit small, aim small, miss small, like, just, I'm going into kill mode, right? So, like the deer story that I just said, I gave him one glance and was like, shooter. I'm not thinking about it again. So what's hard about that is I shot that deer and I'm instantly texting you guys.
Right.
You guys were like, what is it? How big? What is it? My response was, I don't know. He's mature.
Yeah, I
And you're
remember that. Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's a big mature deer. Was it a 10 point? Was it an 8 point? Don't ask me the specifics. I have no idea. And they're like, come on, man. Like I just go into like, if I'm looking at that rack, I'm probably going to shoot it in the horns. Like I just need to clear that out of my head, and I know that it's a shooter. I got to look at those vitals. I got to concentrate on what I got to do. You know what I mean?
So here's a question, and this would be more towards guys that haven't hunted as much as we have. When you look at the vitals, do you picture where your arrow is going to enter the deer, or do you picture where your arrow is going to exit the deer?
Ooh, that is a good. I'm always concentrating on where it's going to enter, but I've had some quartering away shots where it's like, okay, this will be good in this quartering situation.
Right.
Where actually Ron had, well, when we were younger, like younger hunters, he did quartering shots that I was like, whoa, you hit it. And he's like, yeah, he did that on purpose. You know what I mean? Like you have to know the angle of the deer is going to change where you want that shot placement.
100%.
And I don't know, it was 3 years ago maybe. I shot that one at 30 yards that was quartering probably the most. I guess it came out and it turned.
Yeah.
And I was like, instantly drew back 30 yards, take him, and it wound up being. Jay thought it was the best blood trail he's ever seen. So, but when I'm in the moment, I'm so focused on where I want that entrance.
I find I do the same thing. I look at the entrance. However, what I would say is, if you talk to guys who think about the exit hole, which is smart, I mean, make sure your entrance isn't going to bury it into its far shoulder, and you're not going to get a pass through,
Right.
or you're not going to have crap for a blood trail. I mean, been there, done that.
Right.
It's
crazy is like on 3D shoots and stuff. Like you're trying to get. I don't know if you've ever done or also a techno shoot.
Yeah, I was going to
a
say
video shoot or techno shoot where it's the video screen and then you're shooting with a blank tip or whatever. To get the best score, I'm actually kind of looking at where's its back leg at and where's, you know what I mean, like
Right.
trying to get the best shot. But in reality, I should be doing that on my hunts, but I don't.
But I think
I guess I'm not
I
thinking.
think doing that helped teach us
Yeah.
like that. If you guys
You almost do it more
if you
naturally. at
haven't
that
looked
point.
into doing like a video hunt, or we called it a techno hunt or whatever, it's like a 20 or 30 yard room with a video screen at the end of it.
Yeah, I think they're 20.
You go in and it's kind of like bowling, where Hunter 1 is up and Hunter 1 knocks an arrow, and this screen pops up with a hunting scenario. So maybe you got a
And the
white-tailed
screen's like
deer.
the size of the wall. So,
Yeah, it's realistic looking, but the deer could be 35 yards away from you behind a bush, or it could be 5 yards away from you, like you're standing above it in a tree stand, and you have to draw back within a certain amount of time and shoot
and the
that
deer's
deer.
actually moving around, or deer, or elk, or bear. Or
Yeah,
whatever
it's
you're
it's
hunting.
actual
Yeah.
video of the animal,
Right.
and whenever you decide to take your shot, you get scored on.
It shows the vitals
Where it
and where
hit.
you hit. Yeah.
But it did help teach you that if a deer's 5 yards underneath your tree stand, you got to aim a lot different
Right.
than if the deer's 35 yards out and you're at eye level with it. And
Also tell you if it's quartering 2, you're going to get 0 points because that's not the shot that you want.
yeah,
You know?
they actually wouldn't even
Right.
give you credit for a quartering 2 shot. I know there's people that take them, whatever, but I think it's important to think about not only the entrance hole but also the exit. I'm the same way. I'm picking a spot on the front side of the deer and
Right.
pulling the trigger and trying to hit 2 lungs and not one.
Right.
You know, we have found if deer are too close underneath you, it's real easy to single lung them.
Yeah.
Because you're shooting that arrow right straight down. You're not getting it horizontal to catch 2 lungs.
Sometimes you can be too high in the tree, and then you're going to be single lunging the majority of the time.
And deer live with a single lung. We've watched it happen,
Right.
unfortunately, too many times. So yeah, I think you're right. Being able to hold your composure together and hear that deer walking behind you without having to physically watch it walking behind you. Yeah, that's a learned thing. That's not something probably a first year hunter is going to be able to do. But until you go out there and get knocked around a little bit, and make
Right.
mistakes,
Right.
I can't tell you how many deer I have spooked away from me in my life trying to figure all this crap out. I still don't have it figured out. I can tell you, I think saddles help
Mm-hmm.
because when you're facing the tree rather than facing away from the tree, you kind of set up to try to keep the tree in your favor where you think the deer are going to come from.
You act
And
like a squirrel and you're on the back side of the tree.
Yeah, and you're just kind of
Right.
sliding whatever side to keep yourself. And then when you draw your bow, you really only have to expose a little bit of your body to be able to take a shot. So I think saddles have helped tremendously, other than the fact that you kind of have to totally retrain your brain on.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to everything, and I think there'll be an episode where we kind of dive into the ins and outs of it. But for me, it's like I think I could hold still a lot more in a traditional tree stand. I'll admit to that. A saddle is easy to maneuver, and
It's like a swing.
you kind of swing around the tree a little
Yeah,
bit. You
yeah.
kind of here. It's always a comfort thing. So you're like, this position's comfortable, and then you sit there for 5 minutes, and you're like, I gotta move. So then you move, and then you're. To me, you're constantly like trying to find that comfort zone atmosphere with it. But when the deer comes in, it's money. You know what I mean? But as long as you're not moving around too much and get busted or whatever before it ever
Right.
occurs.
Yeah.
You know? But there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah, I am way more movement oriented in my saddle. Like I'm constantly moving around, slamming, whatever, and I'm like, stop it. I think it's just because it's entertaining and it eats up time. But you're right. Like I will say what's weird now that I've hunted in a saddle for a couple of years, and that's like my primary source of hunting.
Mhm.
I feel awkward in a tree stand.
Yeah,
I feel very unsafe
like you're just
sitting in a
almost
hang-on tree stand.
exposed to nothing land or something.
I don't know, like not having that tree in front of me, and then like when you're what people don't understand, I think, if you never saddle hunted, is when you're hooked up in a tree saddle, you constantly have tension on your body,
Mm-hmm.
and then your feet are touching the tree. So there's never an opportunity to really get hurt
Well,
once you're connected.
so it's a mindset because you're literally using rock mountain climbing gear,
Right.
is what you're essentially doing. And
Rated for a whole lot more weight than what
rated
we
that
can
it could
offer.
like hold my truck or something. Like it's
Yeah.
just stupid the amount of weight that it can withstand, the rope, all of that stuff. Like it's a stupid amount of weight.
Unless you're Ron Van Meter and you buy your carabiners at the gas station on the way to the hunt.
Right. They're made for keychains. That's a whole different topic. So if you buy the right gear.
However, also a true story.
Craig was like, "What are you using?"
That guy, oh,
Ooh.
yeah, wow.
But you learn to trust that. Like you're like, I'm just gonna hang from this one rope off of this tree, and it's like, yeah, it's
And
made
it's
for that.
rock
It's-
solid.
Oh yeah, and you can flip over totally upside down and backwards, and you're not going anywhere. Like it's totally safe. And then, so you get.
Then if I sit in a tree stand,
Mhm.
there's like that vulnerability where you've got that wiggle room to
Right.
lean, or if God forbid you close your eyes for a second or something and you start to tip, like I don't know,
Or if
I
the,
just don't feel safe.
Or if the cables decide to snap.
That's happened as
Gone.
well.
Right. We'll get into
Not
that.
to me.
We'll get into that on another episode.
I was
but yeah.
there to witness it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think knowing your equipment kind of dictates how you handle your hunting movement. So, 'cause
Yeah.
hunting out of a saddle is very different than hunting out of a tree stand, which is very different than hunting out of a ground blind.
Right.
You know, so you got to figure out kind of what works for you. But I think a lot of that is practice. And like I said, when I do it, when I get up in the stand every morning, knowing I've drawn my bow back at that specific angle makes it way easier when the deer comes in to just have that confidence that, oh, this is a done deal kind of thing. But,
Right.
yeah. So we're looking at old pictures and reminiscing about, we think it's the first deer we shot. Well, it's the first buck that I think we shot on camera through pass through.
Yeah, I think it actually
Right.
was. Yeah.
I don't think it was the first doe because we did some of the early season doe stuff, but I got invited. Steve had already been up there a couple of years to Ethan's cabin, and we've mentioned this on a previous podcast, but basically it was a square mile of property that we had permission to hunt, right?
Right.
And just a really cool opportunity. I think there was 6 or 7 or 8 of us up there, maybe.
We did a big deer camp that year. It's pretty cool.
And that was the first year of trying to film hunt. So I think we had one video camera, right? We had the single camera, and you were going to come out and film me.
Well, no. So Ethan that year told us, "Hey, we also have this 60 acres that's down the road or something."
That's right. The square mile's not enough.
Right. So Greg's like,
So if you want the extra
there's
60,
more property?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
like, well, let's try this out.
So he went and found an area, and I think I filmed Ron or something like that, or Ron filmed me or something. And then that night, you told me, "Hey, I found this sweet spot. I left my climber at the base of the tree.
That's right. Yeah.
Just come in with me and let's just film it and see what we can do." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So, like, of course, you'd want to go to the property,
the 60 acres.
yeah. So I'm picking on him about that or whatever, and then we go out there, and it was a nice setup, nice spot.
It was like, I feel like it was on the edge of. There's lots of ferns up there.
Mm-hmm.
Like lots of ferns, and it was like a big open mature woods, but we were up on the edge of like some thick cover. And I remember like earlier that morning, I think we had like a little 4-point kind of come grunting his way through and
Which
stuff.
Up there is very, very typical. Like,
Oh yeah, at this point,
spikes, 4 points.
yeah, you were
Ron
happy.
and I
You were
hunted-
happy to see bucks.
Yeah, I think it was probably Ron and I's third year, maybe hunting up there, and we had seen a couple of good bucks, but like super, super rare. Like, I mean, it's up north Michigan hunting, man. It was like spikes and 4 points galore. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
anyhow,
And I didn't know what to expect because it was my first year up there,
mm-hmm.
and I wasn't crazy far into my hunting journey with not starting until I was like 16 or 17. So I hadn't seen a lot of bucks. And I remember that little buck came through, and I don't remember which one of us spotted it first, but we were like, "Oh, that's like a good buck coming, right?" And we were like double amped up because it was the first buck we're getting on video.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that deer came walking in like perfect. And I remember you had
It was like an 8 point, right?
it was a good 8. I think like a chocolatey colored rack. Like he had a
Yeah.
cool colored rack, you
Yeah.
know, being up northern part of Michigan. And he comes through. If I remember it, I think he got behind us. And when he got behind us, he turned and he came back through like right in front of me, like 15, 20-yard shot, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember smoking him with my PSE. I don't know why I remember that. And I think I might have turned and looked at the camera and said, I just put the smack and cheesy down on that buck, because I got a bunch of people that gave me shit about that afterwards too. But dude, it was so awesome. Like, we were pumped. That deer ran off.
Yeah.
We saw it run off, and it was running strong. Like, we could see it quite a ways, and that deer was on a mission. But we felt like we shot it well.
Yeah.
Like, we thought the hit was
good.
good. So we get down, we go back to camp.
Well, you're at camp. You can't
No
just
cell
go track a
service.
deer by yourself. You got to have everybody. So, yeah.
And I don't think anybody had cell service, either that or we just didn't
Oh,
even
right.
have our phones with us at that point.
Right.
So we had to get back to camp, tell everybody we shot one. So we get everybody loaded up to leave the square mile to come over to the 60 acres. And it was like sporadic blood, right? Like,
Mhm.
it was hard for 6, 7 of us, whatever there were, to try to keep up with the blood trail on this deer. But we saw blood that led up to this pretty good sized river. We're like, do we think this deer crossed the river? And I remember we found like these downed logs that we could all try to walk across. And I think we'd actually lost blood for a little while, and somebody spotted blood like by the bank, and it was
Mhm.
like that renewed, I got blood.
Mhm.
And everybody like found this down tree and just take off running across this log to get to the other side. And we get over there and we're looking and we're looking and we're looking, and we can't find anything.
Mhm.
And it got to the point like the hope's fading quickly, and I think we finally just decided to call it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and what sucks is like I'm always like, let's just keep looking. Let's just keep looking.
Right.
And then everybody's like, dude, we did everything we could do, you know. So,
and I think we kept looking, like we kept pushing further away from the river, like
Mhm.
hopefully somebody's going to stumble on a spot of blood on one of these ferns, whatever, and it just wasn't happening.
So we call it.
We call it, and
We're still on the other side of the river.
there's like 7 of us to get back across the river,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like 2 or 3 people had gone.
I was thinking I was the last.
I think I went across, and then Steve's the last guy, I think, because you were filming. You were trying to film everybody, and you're
I'm walking across, and I'm watching my steps so I don't fall in the river with this camera. And I look down, and I see this white just flicker. And I looked, and I look over, and I see an 8-point rack underneath. That buck had died in the river, drifted down, and sucked underneath the log jam that we used to cross that river.
all of us crossed,
That was
and then we had to
insane.
figure out how to get it out of
how
there.
to get him out of there. Yeah, that
It was
so
cold.
crazy,
It was
man.
cold, nasty. Like nobody wanted to get wet, but
Right.
yeah, we had to get him out of there, and then we had to. I remember we had to drag him up some big embankment,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that was so cool. That was
That was-
such a cool hunt.
That was awesome.
I still got that deer up on the wall at home, but yeah, like I think at that point that was one of the bigger deer that was taken up there. And don't
Right.
get me wrong, this was not a huge deer. This is
right.
115 inch, maybe.
Maybe,
100,
yeah.
yeah. So, I mean it was a cool chocolate racked 8-point that
Right.
was awesome, and I was ecstatic about it. And for the location, I was really ecstatic about it.
The fact that we got it on film.
And we got it on film.
Yeah.
Like that was
that was super cool.
that was one of the first deer one of the first hunts that we edited and showed another production company that
Mhm.
had shows on the Outdoor Channel and all that. It was just so cool to have that, to see their reaction, and obviously they critiqued the crap out of us and told us what we did wrong just as much as what we did right, but we learned a lot from
Yeah, that was cool.
doing
That
that,
was really
and that was kind of what got PTP off the ground. And
Yeah.
got that first buck kill out of the way, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet.
But
All right.
I got one question for you because
Uh-oh.
it popped in through the email address. If you guys want to shoot in questions, remember it's theproviderspodcast@gmail.com. And didn't actually even put a name on it. But they said if you had to carry rattling antlers or a grunt tube, which would you pick?
Ooh. I'm going grunt. I'm going grunt, too.
I am too, but what's your reason?
I've had it work more. I've seen it work more. And I've also had sometimes it's more because you're throwing the kitchen sink at it, but I've rattled before where I've actually had eyes on the deer and it was like, nah, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Where I think blind rattling helps. Like if a deer's off a ways in the distance, I think it gets their curiosity going and can get them to come over. But if you're trying to like seal the deal and get it to come within 20 yards of you, give your grunt tube all day. That's my opinion.
I agree. And I think my reason is if you've ever listened to two bucks spar or fight each other, there is so much more noise that goes into it than antlers clicking together.
Leaves kicking. And,
Oh,
yeah.
dirt getting thrashed, trees getting ran in. Like it's die hard, right? And I feel like, and like you just said, if there's a buck within sight of you
Mm-hmm.
and they hear antlers, they know damn well they should be able to see a couple bodies in the woods. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where a deer could be standing perfectly still and grunt
Mm-hmm.
and stay pretty hidden is the way I look at it. And then I bought the extinguisher front tube.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sponsored by any of these people, but I bought the extinguisher and it's got that clickable feature where I can go all the way down to a fawn bleat
Mm-hmm.
or,
Mhm.
fawn, bleat, small buck, big buck. And I feel like having those options to be more vocal, depending on your circumstances, is kind of cool to just be able to do with the thumb movement. And it's a heck of a lot easier to carry in and out of the woods than a set of rattling antlers. But, yeah. All right, we both agree on that.
One of my 10-point back here. That's how I got him. Is he was 100 yards away. I grunted at him, and he actually came running right at me. So that was pretty sweet. So,
I think they work. I think probably depending where you live in the country too, you might get different responses out of that.
yeah.
But I would say us hunting in Michigan and what we've seen in Ohio, we get better responses out of a grunt tube. We do rattling antlers. But yeah, great question. If anybody else has a question, like I said, feel free to shoot us an email. Again, appreciate the sponsor, Smoking at Smokers, for helping us bring this show to you. You can check us out on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. One thing that can really help us is if you guys share us with your friends. If you can tell your friends about us,
Yeah.
that is the best way
Get the
for us
word
to
out.
grow this show. We don't want to take any of the organicness out of this and have to spend money to advertise and stuff. So if you guys can spread the word for us, we greatly appreciate it. We love bringing this to you every week. So until next time, I think the next podcast actually may be a whole group of us and the Ohio guys hanging out at deer camp. So
Oh man, I can't wait.
we're
I'm pumped for deer camp.
we're getting ready to head down. So great week, you guys. We will catch you next time.